Our government has not had an open energy policy since the Energy Task Force, officially the National Energy Policy Development Group, created by then President George Bush in 2001 during his second week in office. Instead, it has arranged its energy policies behind closed doors with hand-chosen representatives from specific energy providers. How would you set your energy policy, and do you think it needs to be done in secret?
Who are you asking?
I'm going to start with JL.
Oh, with me. Um, as far as doing anything in secret, other than Area 51 and military testing, the government should hold no secrets as far as policy. The energy policy should be wide open, and it's pretty simple. We have everything we need to begin manufacturing every commodity that would take us off the need for oil, which really to me isn't a problem because the 60s muscle cars were kind of cool, for a better term. But we can't afford those any longer. No matter how much we drill, no matter how much oil we find and refined, we can't afford it. So we do need to transfer over to a better system. And as I stated before, the current government will not allow it. They shut me down. They'll shut anybody down because it kills their tax base. Completely open system. I would be more than happy to meet with everyone that has an alternative energy system, alternative automobile system other than an electric vehicle, because those are basically junk. And no, I don't mince words on that because they are. Anything you have to recharge constantly is no more than a toy or a golf cart. Open policy is the only way to go. C-SPAN will be a nice platform to show the debates with Congress when they're not on vacation or doing other improper things with their aides in their closed offices. We know what happens. There's a big thing about that years ago, if you recall. Open policy, that's pretty much where I sit, and free for the world to view. No secrets on energy.
Okay, Harry, why don't you give us a minute on that?
Well, I completely agree. In a democracy, you cannot have secrecy because the majority of citizens must know what's going on in order to vote intelligently. The idea of a democracy is we're not talking about these phony elections that we can't even verify. We're talking about the bills themselves have to be approved by the majority of citizens. You can't approve bills if you don't have them done in open, and you're not going to see any 2,000-page bills because nobody's going to approve it. The amendment I'm proposing to make our country a real democracy is 26 words. That's the kind of legislation people can understand and operate within. It simply puts the majority of people in charge of the federal government. Now, for those people who think it's better to have a tiny number of minority rich people rule and keep everything in secret, which is they do now, that's their right. But that's why we are bankrupt. It's why we have poisoned every man, woman, and child on this planet. It's why the National Academy of Sciences is stating the Earth itself is in the final stages of being made uninhabitable because of this addiction to oil and other fossil fuels.
Okay.
So we don't have much time left to do anything right, and we can't afford to play games. We need to get a real solution, which is hydrogen, and get it implemented immediately.
Okay, JL, you have 30 seconds.
30 seconds. Well, I like the idea of having my rights guaranteed in a republic. And I'll have to stand on that.
Democracies have constitutions.
You'll have 30 seconds.
Like republics do.
You'll have 30 seconds. Go ahead, JL. You have to finish.
Well, if the republic were the way it's supposed to be without this corruption, I don't believe Harry would have an issue. It's not right now, and we need to control the corruption. And that would not be through an amendment. That would be through a threat to the Congress and the corrupt lobbyists.
Well, we'll touch on corruption in our next debate when we cover campaign reform.
I know, that's why.
But getting back to the original question, we were talking about secretive energy policy. I think we've pretty much answered that question, so I'm going to move on. Distributed generation, also called on-site generation, dispersed generation, decentralized generation, decentralized energy, or distributed energy generates electricity from many small energy sources. For example, SMUD, the Sacramento Municipal Utilities District, is the largest distributed utility solar energy system in the world. Distributed generation collects energy from many sources and may lower the impact on the environment while improving security of supply. Are you aware of successful blueprints of this method? And would you expand on this model or encourage it community by community? JL?
Okay, as far as a centralized energy supply, I actually have never really agreed with that. That's why the Mueller automobile came about, and that's a power source in itself. But once again, we're talking about, can it be allowed in its current form? With current form of government, they won't allow it. It's a tax-based issue. I personally agree or believe that everyone should be allowed to control their own energy consumption, their own energy supply, whether it's purchasing or having it parked in their garage. It's really not too much to ask, except when it comes to would the government allow you to run your own energy supply where you don't have to pay them taxes. Currently, they wouldn't allow that. Under me, yes, you do what you need to do and run your own power supply, whether you have a wind generator out in your front yard or on the roof of your house, or solar, or the Mueller automobile, which I don't care what it's branded under. I'd give the thing away if we could get it out to market. I hope that answers the question. That's the best I can do at the moment. Let's throw this at Harry and see what he has to say.
Harry, do you want to give us a 1-minute rebuttal to that?
Yes, certainly. I think distributed generation is an interesting concept. It's been around for a number of years. Its impact thus far has been small. I think you're going to have a mix of systems, but I personally favor, if you're going to mass produce 5 million wind machines, which is what I am advocating, I would want to put most of them out at sea, because the winds are much more intensive at sea. And if you put these systems, we call them wind ships, and they've been developed by naval architects and professors of engineering. And I have pictures of them on our website, incidentally. You put these systems out at sea, you get an added benefit of providing a vast sanctuary for the remaining fish and marine organisms that are being hunted into extinction because there's a complete and utter lack of regulation on the high seas as well. The other thing is the winds are twice as intense over the seas as they are over land, and that means the wind machine will put out more than 8 times more energy at sea than it will on land. That's a large-scale project, and I would favor having the U.S. Navy take the lead role in organizing those efforts, because that's the cheapest and most cost-effective way to do it.
All right, JL, you have 30 seconds to respond.
Well, I can't disagree with that. Marine-based wind generation is great. Wave generation for power, that works. Harry should keep in mind, we do need to manufacture those products, and that would create that little bit of pollution that he is worried about. Of course, getting people back and forth to work, they've got to drive, not a problem. And in my world, everybody should be driving, getting to work, getting home.
Okay.
And I'm not disagreeing with Harry at all.
Harry, I want to clarify that. How would you get the power from the wind ships, as you call them, to land to where the people need it?
Yeah, that's the $64,000, or in this case, $1 trillion question. You make hydrogen, Judy. That's how you do it. Hydrogen is what makes wind and solar practical, because both the wind and the sun are intermittent resources that change from minute to minute. You can't depend on any of them. I can't tell you at all, nor can anyone else, is the wind going to be blowing tomorrow at this time. And oftentimes it blows in the middle of the night when you don't need the electricity at all. That's what the problems are. If you make hydrogen with that wind, electricity, wind generated electricity. It doesn't matter if the wind is blowing in the middle of the night or not, because unlike electricity, you can store hydrogen efficiently, put it into a tanker truck or a pipeline or a ship at sea and send it to markets worldwide, just like you do gasoline and oil, with one very big or two very big differences. One, hydrogen never runs out. You'll never run out of hydrogen. And secondly, it is completely non-toxic and pollution-free. It is the only pollution-free energy option there is, period. So why are we wasting any time, money, and effort doing anything else? We should focus on the solar hydrogen economy like a laser beam. Every car, every power plant, every ship at sea, every airplane in the sky needs to be modified to use hydrogen as its primary fuel, and then you will have crystal clear air in Los Angeles and New York and Denver and Phoenix every day, even in rush hour traffic, because the air coming out of those internal combustion engines is actually cleaner than the air that goes in. That's how important the hydrogen variable is to this equation, and if it's not in your energy mix, what you are proposing is simply not going to work.
Okay, JL, do you want to respond to that? You can have up to a minute.
No, we're good.
Okay.
Can I take his minute and just make a couple points?
Yes, take a minute.
John keeps saying that you can't tax hydrogen for some reason. I don't know why John, why do you keep saying that? Why can't you tax hydrogen like you do gasoline or diesel?
Well, we don't want the government taxing it, for one thing. If you're generating yourself...
That's a separate issue. You're saying we can tax gasoline, but we can't tax hydrogen. Why is that?
No. I don't like the taxes being
but
thrown
we're taxing gasoline, right?
Yes, I don't like that idea. I don't like the government making,
the government's broke, right?
Roughly 90%.
The government's broke, correct?
Yeah, from overspending.
So don't we need to get some money in the government?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that's a separate question. Actually, it's a good point, but it's totally a separate question. That's what's the government's role in society.
Well, no, it's not that, Judy. It's budget.
And budget.
Balanced budget.
But I think we'll get to that on another debate.
But they're connected, though.
Yeah, they totally are. Everything's connected.
Get in the solar hydrogen business, we balance the budget.
That's a nice way of looking at it.